Okay, it's 11 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First item is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, president's remarks. The only remarks I have are really for the new directors, that our practice is in board meetings to have our cell phones powered down and stowed. Mine has turned off, I'll stow it. And then just for the public, we will be coming up on public comments. And this being a special meeting, public comments are permitted on matters that are included in this agenda. The only item on the agenda is a motion to approve an expenditure for these vehicles, which we will hear a full explanation of after public comments. So that being said, we'll move on to public comments. Is there anyone in the room who would like to speak? Mr. Reynolds?
Joe Reynolds, 84 Watertown Road. I was looking on the internet. It appeared to me, if the numbers are correct, that Ocean City's paying its starting officers $5,000 more than Ocean Pines. While the vehicles may be necessary, I think the board should really get together with the chief and look at potentially increasing the amount of pay for our officers. I think in the past, there's been a reluctance of some sort relative to other employees in the association and some mean salary or whatever you might want to call it. But I think we're in a situation here and nationally where it's important that we offer the best that we can offer within reason to our police officers.
Thank you. Amy?
Amy Peck, 109 White Horse. As I understand today's request, although I don't see a motion, $158,000 is being requested to purchase vehicles. Some of those are for a take-home or assigned vehicle program. This is to start a program in order to help retain and attract police officers to Ocean Pines. More new vehicles, I believe 3, and additional funds will be needed in the future. I'm asking the board to evaluate carefully such a request. The U.S. Department of Justice has done much research on the benefits of these programs. They have a very initial high cost, much more than the $158,000 requested today, and the initial fleet cost will not see savings due to lower maintenance and extended life of vehicles as a result of using only 1 car per shift until year 4. Departments considering such vehicle home policy should carefully calculate cost and benefits. Large jurisdictions such as Baltimore and Montgomery counties in Maryland see the benefits clearly. These areas basically see 2 shifts on the road during shift changes. Ocean Pines will not have that benefit. At this time, I do not believe we even have officers working and living in Ocean Pines. We do not have the situation like in Baltimore County, where an officer might live in the far north of Parkton but work in Middle River or Dundalk, with a long commute in the same jurisdiction he or she serves. A safe neighborhood like the Pines also does not have the benefit of seeing a patrol car parked in the driveway as a crime deterrent like these comparison neighborhoods. Research shows that about 90% of state government law, big enforcement agencies use this system. However, local jurisdictions, the percentage is much less. I'm asking the board that if such a system is right for Ocean Pines, the data be shown. Might we be better served by using the funds to offer retention and signing bonuses that give our officers the same competitive salaries offered by neighborhood jurisdictions, and we keep our fleet of vehicles stable? We should focus on hiring the 4 officers we lost. Once they are hired, we are then asking to buy 3 more additional vehicles. The value to officers who travel 26,000 personal miles a year is about $14,000 per officer. How many officers working in Ocean Pines drive that much? This lowers the benefit for officers and suggests raising salaries might be a better benefit. Such a policy change deserves the time needed to research and collect data. I will be interested in what is presented today. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Anybody online? I see no raised hands, so we will move into the spending request. There is a motion here the motion is to approve an expenditure of $158,100 for the purpose of purchasing 3 police vehicles. This amount is the only bid received, as only one bid is needed for a state contract. Purpose and effect, vehicles needed for new take-home vehicle policy for the police department. Background, fleet vehicles are short on availability. Dealer has reached out to the police department as these vehicles are available for purchase now. Vehicles are already customized to be used for police vehicles. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? John, I will suspend Robert's rights for you and the chief to provide additional explanation of this request.
Thank you, Colette, and thank you to the board for today to hear us out. I just wanted to add something to what you said. The cruises are part of a program, a government program that all municipalities buy the cruises from. We did, and Chief will talk more about it as the questions come. We did reach out to the one dealership who has them, but the chief did reach out to another Ford dealership that would be able to get the same cruisers at the same price. It's not in negotiation. So we did reach out to somebody else. The chief will talk about it, but they just didn't have the vehicles. I just wanted to add that in what you said.
Chief, did you want to speak?
Yeah, as far as the availability of the vehicles and the calling of this meeting at this time, instead of putting it as a budget item, we would have been coming for a budget item possibly for this upcoming budget to do these things for retention and for rehiring. These became available because it's called a state contract. A state contract is a bid that all police agencies get, whether you get the car from a dealership in Salisbury or we got not a bid, but we got a quote from Hertrick, which is where most of our cars have been coming from in the past just because of our relationship. We had the opportunity to be offered these cars now only because they were over order from Virginia. They had 50 cars that were transported to Virginia that were fully equipped, and they had a budget issue there that would only allow them to take 47 of those vehicles. So the vehicles were already equipped, ready to go in service. The dealership happened to live in Ocean Pines, was a good friend of ours that knew we were in the market for vehicles for this upcoming year and said, I have 3 vehicles right now, they're on the lot. I got that call last Tuesday night. Wednesday, we started discussing with the general manager and with finance on how we could make this happen now, because we know that the budget presentation doesn't even start until September. It's not even voted on until February and wouldn't take effect until May. These vehicles, there's already agencies. I did it in a joking matter, but I had agencies calling me Thursday and Friday that if we don't take them, they have a waiting list. So I don't have an option to sit for a week or let's think this over for a month or let's do this. The reason that I requested this special meeting of this session is because if I don't do it now, I start back at ground zero in September to present for February's approval. We already know, I talked to Hertrick yesterday, which is where our last 3 vehicles come from. Their bids are almost a little over $3,000 more for the bid that I would be able to request and could probably only have 1 day to order in the month of April for next year's vehicles. So they would have 1 day that they could take orders for Dodge, 1 day to order Chevrolets, one day to order Fords. That's not a guarantee that we'll get those vehicles. The last 2 times we put in a bid or a request for vehicles, we ordered them. 2 weeks later, we got the call from Chevrolet. We had ordered Tahoes and they said, we're not making them this year, but they can't get the computer chips. So we would have had to wait an additional year to even receive them. So this was my request that I went to the GM and to Steve at Finance to see what the process was, because I wasn't aware of what had to go through whose approval, how to call a special meeting. I understand that's what you guys are for. And that's why it was my request to come to you guys to see if this is possible. If this is not possible, this is not something that I can say, well, after you meet next month and have a little more time to decide, I'm not going to have that opportunity. I'm not going to have this opportunity again, basically until April. And then I'm taking a chance of not receiving anything, depending on how long it takes. By the time I get the car, order it in April, I may get it next September. And then I have to wait for the guys that are going to put the lights on it. And then I have to wait for the guys that are going to put the radios in it. They're all on back orders and things too. These cars are already equipped, so I don't have to wait for the light guy. It's approximately $9,000 after I pull the car in the parking lot. One vehicle, I pull it in the parking lot. I have to make an appointment. It could take 2 or 3 months for them to get the parts to even install on the car. And it's an approximately, our last charge was $9,000 for Blue Tech, which is the company that installs our light bars and the running lights and things like that. It's an additional between approximately $4,000 to have the computer stands installed, that everything's done by electronics now, with e-ticks and things like that. So everything that's done there, and I have to wait for their availability and then for them to order the parts. So it's a very extensive period of time. And the fact that we only order 2 or 3 at a time puts us at the bottom of the list. That's why Virginia ordered 50. The other local agencies are looking for the large orders. I've talked to other chiefs that have looked all the way up to Buffalo, New York, to hope that they over-ordered, to hope that there's cars sitting on a lot that they didn't take, that they're willing to get rid of 1 or 2 of. That's our only way of being in the marketplace right now because of the availability. So the prices that we have now on these 3 cars are fully equipped, ready to go. I have computers already available. The only thing I have to do is put a computer stand in it. It's already harnessed, wired, everything's ready to go on them as they are. As far as them being a part of a package, like Mr. Reynolds spoke, we've looked at the other bids. Right now, nationwide, it's not the time to be trying to recruit and retain police officers. With everything that's gone on over the last couple years, anybody that was eligible to retire has gotten out of police work. Retention, I am at a spot right now. I have lost 4 officers in less than 6 months that have gone to local police agencies, our neighbors, because they have take-home car, they have insurance policies, and they have a pension. On our survey that we did of 10 things, those are the top 3 things. The other police agencies are offering signing bonuses. They're offering to pay off our contracts. I have people that have left us before they fulfilled their 3-year contract. Well, the sign-us bonus they're getting to go somewhere else makes it worth it to them to go there, to pay our contract off just so they can go there to get these other benefits. The take-home policy, if we were to come in here, if I was full staffed, which right now I'm not going to be full staffed for at least 4 years, because I can only hire 2 this year coming. The academy doesn't start until January, which means if I get 2 for replacement, they'll start the academy in January. They won't graduate until June. They won't be by themselves until September of next year. So I would not be coming back before the board for this upcoming budget for additional vehicles, because those new officers, if I do get a chance to hire them, won't even be eligible for a take-home vehicle until they're through that complete process, which would put us in an additional budget year. So the timing of this is awful as far as you guys are concerned. It's perfect as far as I'm concerned, because this is the optimal time for me to implement a take-home car policy with the people that I have that are waiting to see if this is going to be passed. Because the vehicles that I have right now, I have one that's getting ready to go out on a rollback that I'm stealing pieces off of. That's the only reason it's here, is I'm stealing pieces off of it to fix other cars. The life expectancy, there was several questions about the life expectancy of the cars. There's a difference when I have my car, I live in South Ocean Pines, when I take my car home and I'm available to respond at nighttime and different calls like this without bringing my personal vehicle here and getting in a police car and going on a call. The difference in that is the difference in putting 25 to 30,000 miles a year on my car. And actually mine's even less because I spend a lot of time here. I have 30,000 miles on a car that's 2 years old. A normal police car, for a fleet car that we would bring in, I would be sitting at 150,000 to 175,000 miles on a car that's 2 years old, because you're in the car for an 8-hour shift and then you park it and the next guy comes in and then he's in it for 8 hours and then you park it. That's 3 shifts a day that car is used by somebody and it's passed down. And whatever you did to it on your shift, I'm stuck with it on my shift, and vice versa. So the fact of having the personal car cuts down on the mileage. That car is not used on the days off that another shift would be coming in. So even though you're off for 3 days, 3 other shifts are still using that car. So when you come back after your 3 days off, the car already has 9 additional shifts that it's been used for before I ever get in it again. The deputies, the sheriff's department and all has shown us where they're getting, and they're running the whole end of the county. We're just talking about Ocean Pines. So they're already getting between 5 and 6 years out of their cars. And the take-home policy issue is a huge issue for police officers. If you look through Ocean Pines at the police cars that are in Ocean Pines, you drive through Ocean Pines, you have state police cars sitting in their yard. You have deputy sheriff's cars sitting in their yard. Right now, just the survey that we took, we have Berlin police officers that have take-home cars that live in Ocean Pines. That car's sitting in their yard. We have Cambridge police officers. We have Somerset County Sheriff's Office in here. We have Crisfield Police Department in here, because that's part of their package. That's part of their hiring package. If I was trying to fulfill a 15-man department and I was coming before the board with a request to start a take-home car fleet and had to buy 15 cars, it would be huge. With the ones that I have right now and our task force cars, which right now are being provided by the county for our drug guys and things like that, that could be taken away from us at any time. But with the cars that they already have, adding these 3 vehicles that we're requesting today would let us implement the take-home car policy with the manpower that I have right now. My only concern, and I'm going to tell you this up front, board members and all, my only concern is I'm not in the position where I can request one of them or maybe 2 of them and get one of them later without going back to my office and trying to pick who's the one person that's not going to get one. There's requirements, there's policies. We've looked into all the tax issues. We've looked into this. Steve has looked into the insurance issues. We've done the math. I feel that it's appropriate. We had a take-home car policy that was introduced to the board years ago with the incentive to hire officers to live in Ocean Pines. I only have 3 officers that live in Ocean Pines, me being one of them, that actually live in Ocean Pines. But the policy that they had tried to implement before would take a brand new guy that I just hired and make him eligible for a take-home car because he lived on Sandy Hook. I have an officer that's been here for 19 years that lives in West Ocean City that would not be eligible for that take-home car policy. And if I put a 15-mile radius on it, you that have been here for 6 months with a take-home car could drive that to the other officer's house. So I squashed that policy. I started from ground zero. So there are policies, there's rules and regs, not just that the board or that the residents of Ocean Pines would want put on here. There's requirements that are mandated by us by being in a police car. There's rules and regs that we have to follow as far as weapons, as far as who can be allowed in that car, when it can be used. So we already know what those guidelines are, and that's my job to write the policy to have that implemented. The issue today is the cost and the opportunity and the timing. That does it have to be done today? My opinion is yes, because these vehicles will not be on this lot by 5 o'clock this afternoon. They wanted this answer on Friday. We tried to get it as soon as possible. I called them Monday and told them that we were in the process. So I have a gentleman's agreement with them right now. I also had a police chief that I had to threaten that he's not allowed to go to that car lot and take those until we had this meeting. But if this passes, this is my request. And it fulfills my obligation of being able to implement. These are the officers that we have that are assigned to the vehicles that we have now. These are the 3 officers that do not have a vehicle. And the purchase of these 3 vehicles will fulfill us full staff until I hire someone else that becomes eligible for a car, which will not be in this upcoming budget. The hiring will be, but the eligibility for him or her to be eligible for a take-home vehicle will not be until at least the following budget before they would even come with that request. So this is a very unusual request as far as the timing of it, but as far as what it accomplishes the goal of one of the 3 things that were high in our survey of what we can do to retain the officers that we have and to recruit new officers. Every policy that I have sent to the general manager and to our finance, every police department that is hiring, the flyers that are on their web pages, the benefits are hiring process with a sign-on bonus, with insurance, with a pension, take-home car. It's on every one. There's not one in this Tri-County area. There's not one police agency that I'm aware of in this Tri-County. Now, some have more restrictions. Ocean City has a little more restrictions on who and where they can go. Salisbury is very, very strict. Salisbury has the ability of doing that, being nationally accredited. They can tell you, you must live in the city of Salisbury. You must be within 15 minutes of response time. There's not a police agency that I'm aware of that does not offer a take-home car policy other than us.
Okay,
So this is a huge incentive.
Thank you.
For those things that we're looking for.
okay, thank you, Chief. John, do you want to speak a little bit about the funding aspects of this?
Sure. So with this situation that was brought to us, we did scrub it down. We reviewed it. The chief, we have the prices for the trucks. I believe it was $158,000. The chief explained all that. We did take the overall fleet down last year by 5 vehicles. So if we get these 3 vehicles, both Steve and I believe it would be replacement, because we'd still be under what we had as a fleet. And we said when we took it down at that time that we would always evaluate. So it would be $156,000, $158,000 replacement. The cost under this program and what the chief is saying, with the calculations that he did with Steve, it comes out to approximately $25,000 for these 3 vehicles a year for insurance and gas. As far as a depreciation situation, and the chief, they have a calculation that if anybody wants to see it, with with these 3 vehicles being within the fleet, it kind of spreads out the mileage that they use, even with the increased mileage. And we believe that we can extend the life of the other vehicles, and we have this all calculated if anybody wants to see it. It would extend it, so the depreciation, yes, I would have the depreciation for these vehicles, but we would have the depreciation for the other vehicles spread over a longer period of time. So each year in the operating budget, it basically comes out to pretty much flat. So what we would be looking there, if approved on this, is somewhere $158,000 to replacement, lowering the replacement reserve, and a $25,000 on a yearly basis hit to the P&L. So whatever the amount of months I have left this year, times that.
Okay, thank you, John. Any other discussion or questions about this motion? Doug?
So, John, with regard to the reduction of the reserve balance, we're calculating where we need to be with regard to our reserve balance. We're kind of lining up towards a percentage of what we want to have as far as our reserve balance. How much does this affect that trend that we've been trending towards with regard to the amount of money that we're comfortable keeping in the reserve environment?
Yeah, so Doug, that's spot on. So the 158,000, which is a one-shot deal, we're right at about a solid 26%. We are trending even higher. It's going to have a fractional fraction on that. I don't believe it's going to be major on that. It shouldn't move the needle from the 26 where we're at over a period of time. It will have some effect, though. Yes.
Okay. Rick, did you have a question?
Yeah, and as you know, Chief, and the rest of the board, I'm a big supporter of the police department and ensuring that they get all the necessary equipment and supplies that they need. I just, as far as having or knowing that we're going to need new vehicles, just for my edification, doing a budget review and all that, why wasn't this thought of and moved forward into this past budget, that there was going to be a need for cars that are going to be coming up this year? So I'm just curious on that, on why this wasn't an add to our budget that we had this past year that just is only 3 months old.
John, do you want me to handle that question, or would you like to answer it?
Sure, I'll answer it.
Okay.
So, as the chief mentioned, so what's happened is, I guess, the competition for police, when we look and we benchmark it against other municipalities or county or whatever, they're all, and we sent copies, or I sent copies of the advertisements that the chief got me because I asked them to provide documentation on it. They're all advertising take-home vehicles. Now, maybe, and the chief can answer this, maybe before they didn't all do it, maybe they're increasing it. But in order to be competitive, especially now that he is down so many police and we seem to be really hitting us now. So that's why that came up. I didn't hear anything about this when we did the budget, but I'll ask the chief on that. So I don't know if it was on the radar back then, chief, but you can jump in.
The original plan would have been to come to this budget. With this upcoming budget, we stretched the last one because we weren't sure what the police reform acts were going to cause us to do. The question was asked by the preceding board, or before from the preceding budget, which included our body cams and things that we didn't know. Some of these other agencies that were not involved in this program is all coming from the police reform things because of obligations that didn't have it, but they all had the opportunity to make their request, like Mr. Farr is asking. Some of them that didn't have it, they all upped their game between December and January. So when they started hiring, when they started losing officers, they all sweetened the pot. They all started sign-on bonuses. They all started offering take-home cars, and they all started this in January, this past January. We didn't have the opportunity to do that because we knew our normal process would be that we can't do that until we come back before this year's budget. So again, this falls into why we're doing this now, why we didn't already do it, and why we're not waiting to do it later, because they've already had that opportunity.
Right. And what you said earlier was that it becomes a now opportunity because of this unusual circumstance.
Absolutely.
Since the intention was to bring this forth in the upcoming budget, which would have been the correct process. But because of this unusual opportunity that presented itself, you're asking for it now, and you will not be asking for it in the upcoming budget.
That's correct.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Rick? Okay, John, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to add something on that because that question needs to be answered also, and that was good, Chief. What we did do, Rick and everybody else, with board approval and everything else over the last three budgets, is we recognized years ago, or it was pretty obvious that the difference between our salaries, starting salaries, and everybody else was even more of a gap than what Joe mentioned now. In the budget, we have been over time bringing that up, trying to close that gap. But as the chief mentioned, especially recently, everybody else is upping their game. But that's what we've been doing to try to keep the police competitive on the salaries as well as the 401k. It was an increased match and a few other items in there in the 401k to try to make us competitive with these outside municipalities who do have pensions. Fine, we don't. So that's what we were doing.
Okay. Any other questions? Stuart?
Yeah, John, you're saying that there is a 401k and a retirement for the police presently?
So Stu, there is definitely a 401k with enhanced matching from Ocean Pines, and the police don't necessarily have to put in contribution themselves, so they will get the match automatically, and it is enhanced. As far as a pension plan, a defined pension plan, we don't have that. There is a program, and I'll ask the chief to jump in. There is a federal program or whatever that we don't qualify for that they do have. So we have a 401k, which we call part of the retirement, but we do not have a defined pension plan. Chief, you want to explain what they get under the government plans?
Yeah, it's under the, most police agencies fall under what they call LEOPS, which is it's a movable, it includes military time, includes your police department time, and you can carry that with you from place to place, basically like you can with a 401k. But if I've been a Ocean Pine, or not Ocean Pines, we do not qualify because we're not a municipality. We qualify for it as a police agency, but we don't work for a governing agency. You're not a municipality, so that eliminates us from having the options of being LEOPS. LEOPS would normally be if I've been, say, a Salisbury City police officer for 10 years, I can leave there and go to Fruitland, and I carry that LEOPS with me. I do 5 years in Fruitland, and then I go do 5 years in Ocean City. I retire under LEOPS with a 20-year pension.
But that doesn't presently apply here.
That does not apply to Ocean Pines.
Okay, so my point specifically is, I think that in order to attract more police officers and retain them, I don't know that it's just giving them a car. How about like we give them a better retirement, better health care, and give them their vacation time back that we took away a couple boards ago. These are tangible things I think that would add to helping keep our force and attracting more quality members to our force. Listen, I can be swayed on board with this purchase for some vehicles here, but I need to get an actual commitment that we will do better by our police department so that we can actually, it's one thing to say, I support my police department. It's another thing to actually do something about it and attract people in. John sent us all that a flyer from what town was that?
So there was many different municipalities in there. Chief, if you have it in front of me, otherwise I can open it, but there are a bunch.
Yeah, I mean, and if we're not competitive with them, how the heck do you expect us to attract people in, regardless of how many guys are going to go to the academy or graduate? So, the car is one aspect, but the pay is the big aspect. The pay, the benefits, the vacation, the pension. You want a career cop? Make a career commitment to them.
Stuart, as a sitting director, you will have an opportunity to do just that in the upcoming budget
Oh, yeah,
cycle.
well.
My
yeah, we're-
belief is that
I agree.
these requests will be coming forth, and we will all have an opportunity to consider those along with whatever our decision is today. I think we all agree that retention and recruitment is a huge challenge, and this board has an opportunity to impact that.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? I'll call the question. All in favor of approving the expenditure of $158,100 for the purpose of purchasing the police vehicles, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Stuart.
Stuart, you're muted.
He's muted.
Stuart, you're muted.
I want
Are
to
you
go on,
voting?
I am an aye for the purchase.
Yes.
Okay.
Aye. Oh, if you heard me,
Okay.
aye.
Okay, so we have 6 in favor, and Director Daly has an excused absence, so the motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
presence. Okay, a motion to adjourn,
So moved.
second. All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting is adjourned at 11:36. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye now.